You're listening to an AINC original podcast. We believe you don't have to do life without a compass. Let us be your guide on this amazing journey. Welcome to Navigating Life with Vision Loss. Oh my goodness, I feel like I'm on a freaking pirate ship because one, I'm not Kim, and two, you're not a normal guest. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Navigating Life with Vision Loss, where we have commandeered the show because our faithful leader is decided that she needed a vacation. And so we're, one, really excited that she's on vacation. Two, I'm quite jealous that she's on vacation. I think she's in San Diego. And we are going to be talking about this new topic for October for AINC of skincare, health, and wellness. Is there an actual title? Because I don't really know what this title for our month is.
I think you named it Skincare and Something for the Fellas.
Well, that's for this show this week. But do we have for the whole month? Is it just skincare and health and beauty? And
I think health and beauty. I think
making
it's
yourself
under that
look
umbrella.
good.
Yeah,
Sure. So again, my name is Jonathan Price. I'm the podcast producer here at the Audio Information Network of Colorado. And Lauren, my wonderful, fantastic, beautiful, amazing guest, is the volunteer coordinator here at AINC. Lauren, welcome and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for that warm intro. Wow. It's very exciting.
I'm doing my best to put on my happy face in light of everything that has been going on today. So if I get a little squirrely with some of my comments, that is why. So we have started October. And one of my absolute favorite things about October is one, I know everybody says the leaves changing and the cold, crisp air and the pumpkin spice lattes and all that craziness. For me, it's the football, hunting, being out in the forest and all that kind of stuff for October. What makes you just ecstatic about October?
This time of year in a lot of more traditional and agriculturally based societies is kind of wrapping up the year. As you get close to the end of harvest. And so It also means getting close to New Year's in those systems. And so I kind of enjoy thinking of New Year's as being more in the fall because it feels like you're starting a whole new cycle fresh. I feel like when we have it at our calendar New Year, it just kind of feels like it's arbitrarily placed. So for me, it feels like wrapping up one cycle and heading into a new one.
I love that aspect because when you think of school starting at the same time, that's a new thing that starts and you have new projections for New Year's. A lot of businesses start planning. I know we are planning for January, February, and going into the 2024 year. So I really like that perspective. Do you like to go to harvest festivals and things like that?
When I was living in Minnesota, there was definitely the going to pick apples tradition.
Oh.
Getting settled back into the rhythms of Colorado since I'd been gone for a little while. Uh-huh. And I just was at a gathering and it had a very fun kind of fall vibe to it. So nice. I guess the answer is yes. The short answer is yes. I like those.
Do you like apple cider?
Love it.
Oh man, I just got some from Costco and they have these gallon size. And so I need to go buy 8 or 9 of them and just freeze them so I can have them all year. It's just so amazing.
Yeah, it's good cold, it's good hot. It's good in all forms.
Especially when you put a little bit of whiskey in it. It's just, oh man, especially if you're sick. That's a great remedy.
Then it's therapeutic.
Well, you know what? It's all in the name of therapy. It's all in the name of feeling good. And speaking of feeling good, diving into skincare, Lauren, you are an esthetician.
Yeah.
And how long have you been doing that?
I got licensed in the 90s.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Very cool. And so you're still kind of doing that on the side?
I'm not really, I don't have a practice where I'm seeing clients, but, definitely keeping up on developments. Things have changed a lot since I got licensed.
Right.
There's a lot of treatments that were not available then. One that I think is really interesting is red LED light therapy, which is really accessible to people and it's genuinely helpful. It could easily seem like snake oil, but it's not. Yeah. Okay. So just shining that red LED light onto your skin activates mitochondria, which helps build collagen.
Huh.
And so it can be helpful for wound healing. It can be helpful for anti-aging treatments. Nice. And you just sit there with a red light on your face.
How interesting. That's crazy. I guess that's a better form instead of UV light, just using red light.
It's like the opposite of UV light. It's helping you instead of, causing damage. And so, but there are a lot of other therapies that are more expensive. You can go and get all kinds of laser treatments, and sometimes they can be fairly painful and they leave you itchy. And so I think that's one of the reasons I like the red LED light therapy, because there's no itchy, there's no nothing. You just keep doing it and you start to see a benefit. And so that one's a fun one.
That's awesome. So as we move into this first episode of just skincare and why it's important, let's talk a little bit about just the basics of skincare and why it is important. We all have skin. It's not just for ladies. It's not just for men. We've all got it. It's the biggest organ that we have. Here you go.
I guess one of the things that I always like to address is that there's been a lot of marketing around both hair and skincare, leading us to believe that we need to do things that we don't actually need to do. And so, for example, when the companies that invented shampoo first started advertising, they were trying to get people to wash their hair once a month so that they would be nice and clean. And then they realized if they convinced people they needed to wash their hair more often, then they would sell more shampoo. And now most people are pretty well convinced that they need to wash their hair every day.
Yep.
And it's not quite as clear cut as that. So, for example, the amount you need to wash your hair depends more on your skin and hair type. And it's a little counterintuitive because someone who has coarse hair, with more texture to it, that could mean wavy hair or curly hair, they need to wash it less than people with finer, straighter hair. So finding what that sweet spot is for you and not trying to just tear all of those oils out, because our body is making those oils for a reason. And we often have, when we start shifting towards a different way of washing our hair, there's a little adjustment period where our body will be overproducing oils because we've been stripping them all.
Right.
And so I think that's probably the same thing for beards. Is that something that you've experienced?
Yeah, for me, it's, I don't have any hair on my head. You can't see the camera, but I am completely bald on top and have a nice big old beard. But for me, I had that really short, straight hair when I had hair on my head, and my head creates a lot of oil. And I can't, obviously, I shave and I do that. But for my beard is dry as a bone. Like my face does not produce oil. And so I have to add some more natural oils and stuff like that to the beard and all that kind of stuff. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But when it comes to skincare, my skin is pretty naturally oily. And so I have to use, I forget what the product is actually called, but it rebalances the pH. And so it makes my head less oily. And it actually kind of dries the skin a little bit so that it's not overproducing oil and all that, because that's just really annoying. But what are some basics of head to toe skincare that people need to watch out for?
I would say, especially for a lot of our listeners who are dealing with blindness or low vision, that there are a lot of skin things that the only hints you get are visual. And so I would recommend going with products that are designed for sensitive skin, because you can't go wrong with that.
Right.
And that way you're not going to be missing something like, a rash that you didn't know you had because you're using too harsh of a product. For example, a dermatologist recently recommended Dove Sensitive Skin Body Wash to my husband.
Yep.
And so he was using something that had more perfumes in it, and he was having some irritation and skin dryness from that, and he's not having any problems now that he's switched to a sensitive skin product. Another thing is most bar soaps, unless they're like a glycerin type of a soap, which tend to be clearer, which again, for our audience, isn't the easiest thing to discern unless you have a partner in crime.
Yes.
But bar soaps that aren't clear are often going to have things that leave a residue on your skin. And out of pure lack of desire to clean the bathroom any more than necessary, those things also will leave a residue on everything that those suds touch. So your bathtub, your shower, wherever. And so besides kind of gunking up your skin, it's also gunking up your bathroom. So that's another reason to go with some nice body washes or glycerin soaps. Very
cool. So would you recommend having somebody who's visually impaired go to somebody like a dermatologist to get some things are like allergy based, especially when you're talking about skin treatments? Would it be beneficial to go to a dermatologist or a doctor to get an allergy test?
Only if you're having any kind of a reaction.
Gotcha.
So usually the types of reactions that I'm talking about with, my husband switching to the Dove Sensitive Body Wash, those are minor. Those are like little irritations. If you're having anything worse than that, then you definitely do want to go and talk to a dermatologist, but they're really hard to get into. So unless you absolutely have to, then maybe just use the sensitive skin products.
Okay.
And don't over cleanse. So another tip that I have is that it's better to wash your face at night and then just rinse with cold water in the morning.
Gotcha. Interesting. Yeah. So there are a lot of companies out there, brands, Mary Kay, Rodan & Fields are two that are mostly on the tip of the tongue for a lot of people.
Right.
And when I hear people talking about skincare routines, those are typically the two that come up, or L'Oreal or Oil of Olay. Not to a greater extent, but when we think about skincare, those companies come up. Is there a way to do this on a budget where you're not paying $200-$300 for a bottle of either foundation or skincare routines? And what do we do about that?
Yeah, there are products. I mean, anything, especially with everything having inflated so much in recent years, it seems like everything feels really expensive, even if it isn't compared to the more luxury brands.
Right.
But there are lines like Olay and Aveeno. Aveeno tends to be a really natural line and pretty affordable. They also have not just those brands, but a lot of companies in general will make mineral sunscreens. And I know sunscreen was something that you had mentioned that you wanted to talk about. Yep. I am much, much, much more in favor of mineral sunscreens than chemical sunscreens. And you can tell if it's a mineral sunscreen if it has zinc oxide in it. Okay. And the challenge with zinc oxide sunscreens is they're going to make you look pretty ghostly if you're not careful about putting it on pretty thin. So, but the difference between them is the chemical sunscreens are actually having a reaction with your skin. And so it takes about a half an hour before they're active. So you have to put them on before you're in the sun or else they're not going to do anything.
Interesting.
I was hiking in Peru and I was wearing a chemical sunscreen and I was getting sunburned. Oh. And nothing was making any difference until I put on, I brought some zinc-based sunscreen for my face. And I didn't really bring enough for my arms and everything, but I was getting desperate. And that was the only thing that slowed that sunburn down. So it's literally creating a barrier for the sun. So that's why I'm a much bigger fan of that. It's more effective. But like I said, you want to make sure that you're doing a good job of putting a really thin layer on, or else you're going to look like you got in a fight with something that left you really scared, just that.
You got
that
in a fight
face.
with a ghost and there's residue on you.
Exactly. It's left all over you. So there are ways that you can help yourself put it on a little bit more thinly, like moisturizing before you put it on, because then it'll spread more easily. So there are little tricks like that. Another thing that is a helpful trick when it comes to moisturizing your face, your skin in general, to be honest, but it's put it on while your skin still has a little bit of dampness from bathing. Oh. So like, for example, if you just washed your face, that's a great time right after you kind of just blotted off that water. Go ahead and put your moisture on right away because you're trapping some of that water in there. Right. And you want that. That helps your skin. And so you don't just want the product to have to do the work all by itself.
Well, and I'm assuming if you've taken a hot shower, that your pores are naturally open, so that moisturizer is going to get into your skin a little bit easier, and it'll hold longer once your skin closes. I'm assuming that's correct? Not
necessarily. Okay. And we're not trying to kind of get products deep into our skin that often unless it's something that's really designed for that. Most lotions are really just designed to create a little bit of a barrier to keep you from drying out or to give you some oils where you lost them. Because after a hot shower, one of the biggest things is even if you didn't use a harsh soap, you're going to lose a lot of your natural oils.
Yes.
And so using something that's a good quality product, like I said, there's all kinds of drugstore brands. I do recommend people try and avoid mineral oil as one of the ingredients. I personally react to dimethicone, which is really rare. A lot of products have dimethicone. And so you can decide for yourself whether or not a product is working for you.
Okay.
And a lot of dermatologists do recommend products that have mineral oil in it, but a lot of us who do skincare in other ways, in less pharmaceutical industry ways, we don't like mineral oil. But yeah, putting on something that has some good natural oils in it, and some oils that you could look for are things like almond oil, avocado oil, grapeseed oil. There are, jojoba oil. Jojoba oil is actually the closest to our skin's natural oils.
Okay.
So you'll see that in a lot of skincare products. And sometimes you can just buy the oil and put on a thin little coat of that on right after you've gotten out of the shower while you still have that kind of damp skin.
Sure.
Because then it's really easy to get a nice thin coat of that oil.
Okay. I want to jump back to the sunscreens real quick because when you were saying, it's like the oil where you're putting on a very thin layer. When you talk about one, the SPF, and then two, when you were talking about the zinc, is that kind of like I remember as a kid, the color changing like sunscreen that was purple when you would put it on, so you know what you were coating, and then it would fade away. Is that kind of the same stuff? Or talk a little bit more about the sunscreen.
I'm not sure. I never really looked at the ingredients at those color changing ones, but it's possible that they basically had kind of a compound in it that would change colors once it warmed up on your body, or maybe just dissipated in the air or something like that.
Okay.
There is a lot of confusion over SPF.
Yeah.
Because there's not strict regulation on what an SPF means. Excuse me. So what an SPF means can vary from company to company. And that's another reason I really like the mineral ones, is that if it's got some zinc in it, that you're getting some genuine blocking of those rays. Whereas with the chemical ones, it seems a little bit more arbitrary.
Right.
And yeah, I'm just not such a big fan of those chemical ones. I'm obviously more in favor of zinc. But you can find, like you mentioned foundation earlier, there are some companies that make tinted sunscreens that have zinc in them. My mom uses one because she's had skin cancer on her face. And so from her dermatologist, she's able to get, and it's not prescription, it's just that they happen to sell it.
Sure.
So she's able to get a foundation that has the zinc in it. So she's able to feed two birds with one seed by putting that foundation on.
Nice. So I have to laugh because there was a time when I was a kid that I thought, and you can laugh at me all you want and criticize me, suntan lotion is not the same as sunscreen.
Did you find out the painful way?
Not only did I find out the painful way, I fell asleep on my stomach with suntan oil on my back, and I looked like a freaking lobster after about an hour, and it was just the most painful experience ever. So don't confuse the two. Lauren, what's the biggest difference between those two, and why would you use one versus the other?
So the suntan lotions and suntan oils are to increase the amount of UV that your skin is. You're basically tanning. You're trying to get darker. And the kind of guaranteed byproduct of that is long-term skin damage.
Yeah.
So I saw this fascinating picture of this guy who's a truck driver for a very long time. And so because the sun was always hitting the same side of his face because of, you always drive the car from the same side. So his other side of his face was always protected. And you could see, like, it looked like the left side of his face, because we're in the U.S. and the side we drive on, the left side of his face looked 20 years older than the right side of his face. Yeah.
That's
and
incredible.
So, there are people who love to go out and get a tan, and you do you, but the fact is you will be doing damage. So if you use suntan oil or suntan lotion, you are not blocking the sun, you are encouraging the sun.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a pretty big distinction. So just be careful when you're out there, because lotion up, not oil up.
Yeah.
So
it'll protect the skin.
It'll be very interesting. So, okay, we've talked a little bit about skincare, but for things like ashy elbows, hands that are rough, knees that might be ashy or rough, what are some good products? I know you and I were talking yesterday about CBD oil. Is that something that can help? I know that you were saying more for pain, but can that be also something that is beneficial?
It can be, just because it's an oil. I get a blend that's a CBD blend that's supposed to be kind of a calming blend, and it is helpful for pain. Mm-hmm. But I like the blend so much that I use it as a face oil, and I have oily skin.
Okay.
But after I've washed my face, then I'll put a little bit of oil back, and in the long run, it seemed to have calmed down my skin by doing that, by using really good quality products and good oils. And it's not expensive compared to like luxury skincare products, especially because an oil is always going to go further than a lotion. Yeah. But in general, when you're talking about things like elbows and knees that really can get rough, using things that have that are more of like a solid oil, like shea butter is really good. Some people will even use Vaseline, but we're back to the mineral oil there. Mm-hmm. There's mango butter. That one smells really good. I can't use products with cocoa butter because I'm always hungry when I use those products. But they are very moisturizing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you kind of smell like dessert if you use cocoa butter.
Right.
But which for some people might be great. But so shea butter is one of my favorites. And it's nice to, when you have the ability to, look for products that come from specific regions and pay attention to the differences because you might find some work better than others. Yeah. Because there's different kinds of shea butter, for example, like East African and West African shea butter are a little bit different. I prefer East African shea butter, so that's just me.
Why is that?
The texture is a little bit different. The plants are actually a little bit different.
Oh.
And there's also different ways that shea butter can be processed. So you might find some that seems very light in color and a little bit, I don't know how to describe it, almost not really waxy, but a different texture.
Sure.
And what that is it's more processed.
Oh, okay.
And so if it's got more yellow in it, that's one of the easiest ways. Same thing with jojoba oil. You can find clear jojoba oil, and when you find that, it means the waxes have been removed. So it's going to have less kind of staying power on the surface of your skin, and that's what you need when you're dealing with elbows and knees. And just ashy skin in general, you want some good moisturizing. So I'm so pasty white, it's hard to tell that I'm ashy, but I definitely get ashy.
Sure, absolutely. My hands get pretty, like on my knuckles and like the bottom side of my palms get kind of ashy and tough, but it's good to know that so just for my clarification with the shea butters, the more yellow or the more waxy, the less processed, or is it the other way around?
Yeah, but it's easier to look for the color.
Okay.
Because as they process it, they're removing things that have a yellow tint to it. So this is true for jojoba and for shea butter. Okay. And so I like the stuff that is more in a natural state. I feel like it works better for me. Yeah. But sometimes for my face, I will use the stuff that's a little bit more processed because those smaller molecules are less likely to clog up your pores. And still, at my age, I get acne. So on my face. Yeah. But on your knees and your elbows, that's less of a concern. And so you can use things that have a lot more substance to them. Yeah. Another trick, you're talking about your hands, and this is also true for your feet. There's a thing that's common to do during a facial or at spas where they heat up these hand mitts or mitts that go over your feet, kind of like little booties, and then put on a bunch of lotion or do a paraffin dip or something like that, and then put a plastic bag over your hands to really trap that product, and then put it into this warmed mitt. And that causes your skin to really soak it up and you get really moisturized. It's really nice. And there are clever ways that you can kind of work around that. Like if you were to use something like old produce bags, put on a bunch of lotion. If you have something like a hot water bottle or a heating pad, maybe just lay back for a little while and have your hands under that heating pad, maybe on your abdomen, so that you're building up that heat and just relax, have your home spa treatment.
Wow. Well, there you go. I really like that. Speaking of hands and feet being ashy, one of my favorite things to use, especially on my head after I've shaved, are sugar scrubs.
Yeah, you were talking about that.
And I use a shea butter sugar scrub that has, I think it's almond oil in it. So I'm getting some of those good oils, but it really helps not make my scalp so oily. And then it also gives, I don't get that really nice butter shine that my son likes to, hey, Dad, your head feels like butter. It's like, I don't want it to feel like that. And I don't want it to be super shiny. So buff that out. But I want people to understand this whole spa treatment and skincare and hygiene and healthcare, not just for the ladies.
Right.
And so it's important to remember that men, when you guys have your hands and you're with your special person and your hands are all beat up and jacked up from either working under a car, working in carpentry, fishing, hunting, all that kind of stuff that we do as men, our hands go through a pretty good beating. I don't think women typically want to hold a hand that feels like cardboard or like anything like that. Like they want to hold something that's strong and nice but soft. And so making sure you're taking care of your skin. And then 2, we talked a little bit about at the beginning, beard care, if you have a beard, hair care. I wanted to hit on some things that I use personally for beard care if you're looking for some of those. So there's a couple of things. One, specific beard oil. This oil is designed for hair, not skin. And it does have some properties that will go into the skin eventually. However, this oil is specifically designed for coarse beard hair. And as you all know, beard hair is a lot more coarse. It's a lot more dense, and it doesn't behave the same way as normal hair on your head or anywhere else on your body. And so you've got to treat it as such. And so I've got a couple of different beard oils, and then I have, it's called beard grease, but it's not really. It's like this oil that is activated by heat. And so you rub it in your hands, and it provides a lot of vitamins and nutrients for the hair. And it's activated when you rub it on your hands. It gets nice and warm. And then you just kind of put it on the beard. It kind of helps thicken up the beard. It helps provide or retain some of that moisture. But then I'm going to get laughed at. I really don't care. I got a beard straightener. And not for anything other than just the vanity of it, just because sometimes my beard gets a little squirrely, and if your beard gets long, you'll if you sleep on one side, you end up getting like half of your beard plastered to your face going up and the other half going down, and so you look really, really funny.
Bed beard is a thing.
Oh, it's hilarious. It's even worse than bedhead. I'm not even kidding. And so sometimes you got to tame that sucker out. So you get a nice cool or a very low heat setting straight brush or straight beard straightener, and it works wonders. And yes, anything else about the hair care, Lauren?
I actually wanted to comment a little bit on the thing with men and taking care of their skin, their hair,
yes,
and everything. And I think I was telling you about my husband's theory, because he saw me getting a pedicure one time, and he became very jealous when he realized that it was almost entirely foot massage. So now he is into all of the things, massage, pedicures, all of the things. And so then he came up with a theory that women keep men from understanding how awesome these things really are, so that they're not booking up all the appointments. And so any ideas that these things are just for women is I'm sorry, other women, they're going to book up the appointments now.
Yep, it's true.
It's not true. I mean, you got skin, you got hair, take care of it. So maybe you don't feel like wearing makeup if you're a man, but that's really about the only difference. You still want to have your skin not feel tight, not feel itchy. You want your skin to be healthy, and
right.
It's actually one of the most important parts of our immune system.
Yes.
And so you just take good care of it.
Well, and I think the biggest misconception is that it's mostly fashion. It's mostly for vanity. And if you're not taking care of your skin, you're not being healthy. And skin cancer is rapidly growing in the U.S., and it's because we use so many products. It's because we use so many different things to put on our skin in the name of either vanity or quote unquote healthcare. And we're using the wrong products. So if you can get into a dermatologist, it might be a good idea to go see one, especially if you're having things like eczema or any sort of skin irritations or rashes or anything like that. You want to get that checked out, because it could end up leading to something that is really not beneficial for you and could, one, leave you feeling unconscious about your skin or yourself as your person, but two, as a just health concern, it's pretty critical. And so
if you've had a history of several significant sunburns,
yes.
you definitely want to be seeing a dermatologist, because I have had areas removed that were precancerous. And I don't actively try and tan, but I've gotten enough sun living in this high altitude place. And I was on a swim team when I was growing up. We weren't wearing a lot of sunscreen. And so if you've had some serious sunburns, definitely be talking to a dermatologist.
And I think we'll get into this topic on another episode, but kind of briefly, being at altitude is vastly different than being anywhere else in the United States. And the biggest thing that people don't understand when they're coming from other states is that even if it's cloudy, you are more likely to get a sunburn when it's cloudy than you are in the sun.
Yeah.
And just because you're so close and those UV rays are so intense up here, you've really got to be careful and lotion up even on those cloudy days, or wear long sleeves if you can. But
yeah, clouds are not sunscreen.
No, it's actually
it actually amplifies.
Yes, akin to the suntan oil.
Yeah.
So that's
don't let it fool you.
Right. So don't double up. Don't wear suntan oil and go out in the clouds. You're just going to be in for a really bad deal.
Yeah, you'll be unhappy you made that choice.
Well, Lauren, it was so much fun chatting with you. Thank you so much for helping me commandeer this vessel. And is there anything that you want our listeners to take away from this episode?
Something that could be helpful if you are thinking about wearing makeup, or if you want anything like help with eyebrows or something like that, depending on your line of work or how important your social group feels like that is, go to a professional and have somebody who knows what they're doing help you pick out colors that work for you, helps you wax or whatever it is. So there are resources out there that you don't have to figure it out all by yourself.
And speaking of resources, for the entire month, we'll have articles and resource lists posted on our website, aincolorado.org. And you can find all of those there, or aincolorado.org/resources. There should be a resource page specifically for this particular topic of the month. Well, on to next week. I believe Kim will be back, and I'm not sure exactly what we're going to be talking about, but it'll be good. And so I hope this episode has helped you to navigate life with vision loss.